All right, hello everyone, good evening. Thank you for joining tonight's Alpha Phi Eats event, and it is sponsored tonight by Campus Cooks. I'm Bridget Connerty, and I'm the manager of events at Alpha Phi International, and I'm pleased to introduce Andy and our special guest, Claire.
Hi everyone, how's it going? Thanks for being here.
Hello, hello. Alrighty. So briefly, just to kind of share who I am and who Campus Cooks is. I am a district manager with Campus Cooks. I'm a Purdue alumni, and in the district in which I work, I cover our houses that we work with at Butler, Wabash, DePauw, and Purdue. Professionally, this is about 25 years or so in the industry. I have a bachelor's in hospitality management from Purdue, which I got many, many years ago. I love to travel. I've been to 12 foreign countries, and every time we go anywhere, it's very important for me to kind of dive into the food and see kind of what the culture looks like from that perspective. I've done restaurants for about a decade. I worked in healthcare food service for about 5 or 6 years. And yeah, I've been here at Campus Cooks since. So happy to be here. And Claire, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, thank you guys for being here again. I'm Claire Trost, and I am a Purdue alumni as well, and I am also an alumni of the hospitality management program. And I'm a previous employee of Campus Cooks, but still a great friend. I was with Campus Cooks in my early career and then had some babies and decided to stay home, but they've been so good to me and welcome me back for some fun projects like this. So I'm excited because I get to share my passion with cooking still and share a little bit about what also brought me back home and off the road with Campus Cooks, and it's our family farm. So I'm excited to tell you all about that. It's located just north of Indianapolis, and we're going to talk all things farm and cooking tonight. So Andy, what are we cooking?
So we're going to be making an everything bagel breakfast bake. So with this, it's something that you would make in advance. So either the night before, or if you happen to want it for dinner, you can make it in the early part of the day. So yeah, it incorporates some things like bacon and cream cheese and everything bagels. So really good flavors and really cool thing that you can make in advance.
Awesome. I love that we're doing a casserole because I think, one, it's a great thing to have for Christmas morning because there's no prep in the morning. It's something you can do on Christmas Eve, wake up with your family and not feel rushed and have to spend half the morning in the kitchen. So it's really hands off for that special morning where you're making some magic or just trying to be together as a family. I think it's also a great thing to know how to cook kind of in your arsenal of tools in the kitchen, just because it's an easy thing to prep on a Sunday and then you're set for breakfast the rest of the week. I know we don't have commutes right now, but when we do, it's hard to find time to have breakfast, and a lot of times it's like a Pop-Tart running out the door, but this makes it really easy to have something that you just microwave really quick. And you have something healthy and protein-packed as you start your day. With us from Campus Cooks are some of my old friends, besides Andy, is also Anderson Dalton. She works with a lot of the national organizations, and she started in the same role as me as a sales rep in the South, and she's based out of Dallas. And then we also have Sydney Wagner, our marketing coordinator, and I just saw her in the chat there, and she's going to be asking where everyone's from, and be sure to engage. We want to have a lot of fun and a lot of conversation tonight. So let's get going.
Absolutely. All righty. One element of this, I believe you all had a recipe sheet that was sent out to you. One of the elements is bacon, and we did not specify for you to pre-cook bacon. So if you want to now, you can turn on your oven and use a sheet pan and a cooling rack or something like that. If you want to throw bacon into the oven to cook off while we're waiting, by the time it's done, probably would be about the time that you would need it. Otherwise, and we're going to talk as we go about other opportunities to substitute out some of the ingredients and things like that. So there's things like bacon bits that you can buy at the store already. I wouldn't recommend like the crunchy ones, but I have kids and sometimes we want bacon things like, salads quickly or some other recipes. So if you want to substitute something like that, you can as well. So first off, you want to start with 5 everything bagels. And
I just saw in the chat that we have someone from New York, and she can send us all real bagels, and I will take you up on that, Mary Beth. That's so awesome. I miss New York so much.
Very good. So you want to start out, basically you want to cut them into approximately 1-inch pieces. So with that, typically kind of get going and cut all slices in one direction. Turn it and do the same thing.
Andy, what kind of knife are you using?
I am using a bread knife, actually, which is serrated. So as you can see there, it's not just a flat knife. Claire, you got the same? And I've cut mine up in advance here a little bit, knowing that I was going to be talking and can't always talk and cut at the same time as fast as you might like. What kind of everything bagels did you get, Claire?
Oh, I don't even know. It was what was at the store. I live kind of in the middle of nowhere, so we just have a teeny IGA, and so that's what I got. I do make the run about once a month to Trader Joe's for the actual seasoning because I put that on everything. It seems like from scrambled eggs to chicken to like avocado toast, hummus, and yeah, it makes everything, hard-boiled eggs, and makes things taste really good. Andy, knives are like kind of a good Christmas present. I know it's something I just actually got my husband. I got him some new ones. What should we know about knives?
Absolutely. So basically, in a kitchen at home, you need to look for a couple things. One, cheap knives typically aren't the way that you want to go. They are definitely more affordable, but if that is a hindrance for you, it's easy to ask for them as a gift. So for me personally, and I'll step back here, I came upon this set where you can see actually a glass knife block. So when the knives are all in there, you can see them from the side, and kind of a different look from a traditional wooden block. Mercer is the brand of these knives. Don't work with Mercer or anything, not trying to sell them, but they're very good knives for in-home use and a different style of block from what you might ordinarily see. Basically, it's been my experience, and a lot of my peers would say German knives typically are the best to get. They're typically somewhat pricey, but not out of control. You can also find Japanese knives that can get just out of control expensive. But basically what you're looking for is you would want to have a chef's knife here. So it's kind of traditional, what you might see, a bread knife. So again, it's got serrated edges at the bottom, so it'll cut through the bread instead of smashing it down. Paring knives, which everyone should be fairly familiar with, so more of like, this is easier to clean vegetables or cut smaller things out like that. And then other knives could be like a boning knife or a fillet knife. So those are really good ones to have. Like I said, this set for these 5 knives was around $150, I think, and I just know that because we actually got my brother-in-law a set like this. He asked for it because he saw mine, so it's around that price. If you're buying something for like $25 for a whole set of knives, they're going to fall apart on you. Some things to look for is the weight. So as you hold it in your hand, you want for there to be some weight down here in the handle as you're cutting. If it's really light, it's hard to control the knife. And then keeping your knife sharp is very, very important. It's easier to cut yourself with a dull knife than it is with a sharp knife. And having a steel to sharpen it with. So this is a steel, which most of you may have probably seen. So I usually, it depends on how frequently I'm cooking. So again, I have kids, so I don't get to cook at home every night or as often as I would like to, but I would say at least once a month, I do go through with the knives that I use a lot and will sharpen those. So basically with the steel, it's got a little guard here at the end that you should be able to see. And you want to pull towards you not away from you. If you're pulling away from you, if someone's like walking by or anything like that, you can accidentally cut someone. So that's why this guard is there. So you basically want to slide along, down and towards you, and then flip it over the next side. And start off slow with it if you're not comfortable with it.
Hey, Andy, we got a great question in the chat, and I don't even know this answer. How would you sharpen a serrated knife? On a steel?
You can do it probably on a stone better. So you can get little knife sharpeners that have the handle that there's two little stones in between. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would say a stone, you could do it, you just have to be careful. There are also like different knife sharpening companies that are around. Or if you go to like a Williams Sonoma or a store like that that sells higher end knives, they can direct you towards that type of thing as well.
Yeah, Mary Beth was asking, and Mary Beth, I know that Williams Sonomas will sharpen knives. Sometimes it's on a schedule, so you may have to check with your local store. Our local farmers market does it too. So there may be something like that where there's somebody who sets up at a local place like that, and you can check it out.
Yeah. And then one last important piece, after you're done, you want to definitely make sure you wipe your blade off. So anything that you had on there, the shavings are going to come off and stick to your blade. So you want to definitely make sure that's cleaned off there so it doesn't go into your food.
Speaking of our food, what you're going to do after you have your bagels all chopped up and cubed, our cubes are about like an inch by an inch probably. You don't want to make them too small because otherwise then you just have breadcrumbs. And you're going to want to make sure that you also spray your pan before you get everything in there, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of work to do on Christmas Day. We spray our pans, and then we're going to layer about half of those bread cubes into the bottom of the pan. And what I liked about this recipe and why we kind of picked it is that it's kind of just a good starting point for things like a breakfast casserole. You could use croissants, you could use sourdough bread. There's a lot of different breads that you could put in here that's would work just as well as the everything bagel. It doesn't have to be that. And then also with the other toppings like the cheeses and even the bacon could be prosciutto. You could make it vegetarian and have vegetables in there instead. And if you have cheese left over from like a cheese board on Christmas Eve, you can throw those cheeses in there and it'll probably taste delicious. The recipe calls for Gruyere, but I know Anderson used it with mozzarella, I believe, earlier this month when we were testing. So there's a lot of different ways you could make a great egg casserole.
Yep. And I know from when I was at the store buying some of the ingredients for this is the block of Gruyere that I got, $12.59. It's 21 bucks a pound for it. So any kind of sharp cheese, just because you see something in a recipe doesn't mean that that's what you've got to get. So any kind of a sharp cheddar, which is what I'm actually going to use, or Swiss, something like that. You just want a bold flavor in there. So with that, you want to go ahead and take, the recipe calls for 2 cups of the shredded cheese. So you want to take half of that now. So about a cup's worth. And you can just kind of eyeball it and sprinkle it in on top of that first layer of bagels. Whenever you're cooking with cheese, so if you're making something like this or like a lasagna, I always want to start from the outside and kind of work my way in. If you throw all the cheese in the middle, it doesn't want to cook as evenly. So if you start more towards the outside and work your way in, you'll typically have a better result. With bacon, so I cooked off my bacon earlier, so I'm just going to chop this up just kind of roughly. And you want to use half of the bacon now. And you can just sprinkle in on this layer. And again, start from the outside and kind of work your way into the middle. This is really nice too because it's kind of a light rustic look and feel to it. So it doesn't have to be like the prettiest thing ever. It doesn't have to be exact. All right. And once you have your bacon on there, You'll want to cut your cream cheese. So you kind of see I just took a block of cream cheese. I sliced it lengthwise down the middle, and then I cut, it's going to be a total of 16 pieces. So kind of like what like a pat of butter might look like for you. So with that, with it already cut, I'm going to place 8 pieces total in the bottom and just kind of put them symmetrically into your pan. That way, once you do serve this and you cut it, it's not to where all the cream cheese is all bunched up into one area. It's distributed fairly evenly. And then once you get that first layer down, so you should have your half of your everything bagels down, half of your shredded cheese, half of your cream cheese, and half of your bacon. And I'll hold this up here so you can't see it real well on the screen. This is what mine's looking like right now. If yours doesn't look exactly the same, that's not the end of the world. Claire, how are you doing in your world?
We're good. Andy, how'd you cook your bacon?
For me, I like to do mine in the oven. That way it doesn't make as big of a mess on the top of the stove. So I did mine at 375, and I used a cookie sheet and put a cooling rack on top of that, and then layer the bacon on that. And it cooks nice and straight, so it's not all crinkly looking. For this application, it doesn't matter how it looks, honestly. But yeah, that's a really good way to do it. And fat's there in the pan, and it's easy to deal with that.
I'm a cast iron girl.
Are you?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I cooked my bacon on a cast iron pan, just the Lodge brand, on the stovetop, and put in about 5 to 6 pieces at a time. And I don't even care about strips. I just mix them all up and make sure they're ready to cook and put them on a plate so they can drain, and they're good to go.
Awesome. I did make the mistake this morning as I was prepping this. When I was cooking the bacon, I didn't get enough extra, so my family was walking around the house smelling bacon, and then came to the harsh reality that they didn't have bacon to eat. So
For sure.
but they will eat some of this after a bit. All right, so if y'all have that first layer in, I'm trying to give you some time to make sure you guys can cut if you're cooking along. I'm gonna go ahead and put in the next layer now of bagels. So should be the other half of what you have left. And just do it to where it's even across. Once we pour the egg mixture here in a moment, you're gonna want for it to distribute like evenly, so you don't want a lot of pieces that are over the top of it that don't get to absorb any of that. They'll get all crunchy. That'd be good.
Andy, what do you guys cook on Christmas morning?
So my wife's family tradition is cherry turnovers. My family growing up, it was always a coffee cake. So we actually do both.
Okay, that's perfect.
How about you?
Isn't it?
What's that?
That's marriage, isn't it?
Right. Absolutely. So how about you? What does your family do?
You know, we're young with young children, and so we're kind of new to starting traditions. I have a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, so we'll see what sticks. Honestly, breakfast casserole is the way I'm going to do it this year, just because I want to have some fun on Christmas morning and, you know, not be stuck making pancakes or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with pancakes. Pancakes are great, but just for that morning, I want to be a little more present.
Absolutely. So I'm layering on, I put on the rest of my shredded cheese here, and then I'm putting on, I'm actually going to do the rest of the bacon first. And then the last of my cream cheese. So again, you should have approximately 8 pieces. This isn't, it's not where you have to cut exactly, you know, the 8 pieces for each layer, but that'll be good for allowing it to melt as well. All right. So again, here's what I have.
That's good.
Very nice. All right. Claire, if you want to talk about the egg and cream mixture then that's going to go on this to hold it all together.
Sure. So the next step is to get the egg mixture all pulled together. And so what you need is 8 eggs. And so I've got some eggs right here. And these are actually from chickens from our farm. We have egg-laying hens, we do meat chickens, pastured pork, and then 100% grass-fed beef. So eggs were kind of my gateway into farming, just because my husband and I, we met at Purdue. If you're familiar with Purdue, we actually met at Harry's, eating chocolate. And he was from the agriculture fraternity, and I was a girl from Columbus, Ohio, who had no idea about farming until I went to Purdue. Moved to his small town. It's got a smaller population than the number of students that went to my high school. And so I was kind of lost, and farm to table was really big, and I had that hospitality background. So I decided, let's have a garden. And Adam said, well, if we have a garden, we have to have chickens, because their eggs and eggshells are really good for the soil as well as their droppings. So we started with 12 little hens, and this past year we had 350 egg laying hens at our house. So it's been an adventure through the last few years, but if you have any questions about eggs and where you get them from from a farm and things like that, so let me know, because I've learned a lot. So I see Jill, she's saying she's from Cleveland, and she knew nothing about farming until I moved to Iowa. Similar to me, in Columbus, Ohio, I lived in a suburb called Dublin and lived a very suburban existence. And actually my first foray into farming was at an internship in Los Angeles. And out in California, they were getting so many things from local growers, and it was 2008. And so I worked in business dining and got to know a lot of farmers. We actually brought a farmer's market to the workplace that I was working at, serving in the kitchen or serving in the cafeteria for them. So it taught me a lot about farming and started me on this path where a garden sounded interesting, and then so did backyard eggs, and then so did beef, steaks, and things like that. So what we're going to do with our mixture here is we need 8 eggs in here. I already have 7 ready to go, and then this will be my 8th. So to crack an egg, you just hit it on the side. I don't like to, or hit it on the counter. I don't like to hit it on the side of my bowl, just in case I were to get some shell into it. But if you do get shell into your egg mixture, the best trick I know is to use the actual shell to try to get it out. So you can fish it out just by scooping it up with the shell, and it goes in so much easier than if you were chasing it around with a fork, or with your finger, sorry. Speaking of fork, I need one to whisk this up.
Very good. So I've incorporated the cream and the eggs on my end as well, so just with a whisk. I went through first and I popped out the yolks because it's hard to see them, and it's easier to whisk it up if the yolks are popped. So with that, you just small circular strokes with whisking. A lot of people will go in and try to start stirring it up, and that's not what this motion should be. So with that, you want to do small circles in one area and then kind of move that to a different area. Notice too how I'm holding the whisk. I know some people will come in and just like grab it like that or grab it like this. If you get your finger down there, it makes it a lot easier, and small circles.
And you're using 2 cups of cream, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Cool. So 8 eggs, 2 cups of cream. Have you put in your salt and pepper yet? I did.
I have not. I need to do that still. And then Claire, so you know like a lot about eggs. So what are some of the differences that you see out there? You see things like cage-free, all the different options that are out there. So can you describe some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, when you're shopping for eggs, it's like marketing is such a fun thing, isn't it? They use all sorts of fun words to confuse us when we're shopping for any kind of food, truly. But when you are shopping for eggs, you're going to see things like cage-free or free range or natural. And so we can go through it really quick, just so you guys have that knowledge. But if you see natural on eggs, just know that that doesn't mean anything. Like, all eggs are natural until they make them in petri dishes. That's just a fun little marketing word. Cage-free means that the bird isn't kept in a cage, but it may never go outside. So, and then free range means it just has access to outside. So a lot of times these birds are in big houses. They're like massive chicken houses. And if they're cage-free, they just roam around in the house. If they're free range, they have the opportunity to go outside, but they may not actually go outside. And so what you're gonna wanna look for is something like pasture raised. And the best place to get more cost-effective pasture-raised eggs is from your local farmers. And to find a good local farmer, there's a lot of different avenues you can take. It's tricky this time of year because farmers markets aren't in season, but some places do have good winter markets, and so that's a great place to make a connection with a local farmer. My best advice at the farmers market is to ask a lot of questions about their social media pages. A farmer should be very transparent and proud to tell you how they are raising their animals. If you don't have a farmer's market or you're having trouble, there's a lot of different places that you can go within the internet to try to find a good location for you that's close. After I left Campus Cooks, I did a lot of freelance writing in addition to raising kids and working on this farm, and I worked with Edible Communities, which has the publication Edible Indy, Edible Columbus. I'm trying to think what the one out in Iowa is, but there's like Edible Brooklyn, Edible Austin is gorgeous. And so there are all these local food magazines, and they'll highlight local farmers all the time and be a great resource as well. And if you have any questions about all that, let me know. I'm happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you, Claire. All right, so I'm ready to pour my egg mixture onto the bacon and cheeses that we have in there. My mixing bowls, just by chance, have a pour spout on the end, which is a nice thing in a mixing bowl if you're so inclined. So for this type of thing, again, start kind of from the outside, and you want to do this slowly so that the mixture touches every piece of bagel that you can see. So again, I'm starting from the outside. And just take your time with this. And then now that I've got the outside, I'm just going in a straight line slowly. Pull it over, straight line back. Right down the middle. And back and forth. And then you still have some in the bowl. So look, if you know you didn't hit an area well, then you can go back and kind of spot it a little bit. All right.
Looks good.
Very good. So then now at this point, again, we're not going to throw this in the oven now. You want to give it time to let that egg and cream mixture soak in with the bagel so you get the right texture when it's done. So you want to cover with foil. It's fine. Because you're going to need to foil the bacon in once it's time to go. So with that, just close it on up. You can throw it in the fridge. And you need to refrigerate this for a minimum of 4 hours, but overnight is recommended.
That's why it's perfect for something like a Christmas morning sort of dish. So Andy, we've talked a lot about the farm, but what's been going on with Campus Cooks? How are you guys?
Oh, not a whole lot's been going on in the last year. So obviously the last year's been a little bit crazy for everyone, no matter whether you're working with food service or human resources or grocery stores or whatever it is.
Farms, we've been sold out all year. It's been wild. And we appreciate the support. Like, it's amazing that people have rallied. So
Absolutely. No, it's been a very impactful year. We're just getting finished with the first semester. We had a lot of protocols that we had to put in place and rewrite a lot of standard operating procedures that we do as a company. I actually just came off of a call just a bit ago. We had minimal employees that tested positive over the year, so that's good. We've got a lot of things as far as masking and physical distancing and who's allowed access into the kitchens and things like that. From a student perspective, we had a varying degree of things. So we started the whole school year for everyone in touchless to go. So, everything's served out of a box, and we figured that out. We had some good ideas before it started, but you don't really know until you're there to physically do it. So we learned a lot in that first month. By that time, we were able to convert a lot of houses into cafeteria style service. So at that point, they were able to see the food again, and just our employees were able to serve them. So it really opened up for the students, a lot of control over what they were eating. If they wanted a little bit more of this or a little bit less of that, they were able to do that. So it really, really was a good thing. So I feel like, again, here as we're wrapping up the first semester, we're in a really good place, and all of our employees and team and the students as well kind of know what to expect now. And I feel like it's much, much better than what it was at the start of the year, and everyone worked really, really hard. So we're very proud of that.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. If there are any undergrads watching, know that this year is so different, not just because of food service. Obviously, we're coming from that perspective. Before I'm anything, I'm a sorority woman. I am an alumni of Alpha Chi Omega, and I serve on our house core board, and we feel for you guys so much this year. And I know it feels like there's rules after rules after rules, and it's tough, but you guys have been so awesome. And I'm sure your alumni can agree that, hang in there. This isn't how it's always is. And if I can say anything, college was great, but my relationships with my sorority sisters are so much stronger and more special as an adult. So stick with it, and you'll make those memories when you can. You've got a whole lifetime ahead of you too.
Absolutely. And as a parent, my older son is a freshman at Purdue this year. So my whole life is kind of immersed with all this. I also have a younger son who is in seventh grade. So I'm in the mix of working at universities, working with Greek houses. I've got a son that's going to college now and one at home. So definitely, as we make decisions, not just us as a company, but all of the quote unquote adults that are around, we definitely are doing everything we can to keep your guys' interest in mind. And we completely understand that this has been a challenging time. I mean, there's not really any better way to say it. So we appreciate all that you guys are doing, and hopefully we get through this next semester, and hopefully by next school year, things will hopefully get a little bit back more to the way we all are used to them being.
Well, thanks to the magic that is, our cooking show here, Andy, we both have done casseroles that are complete. So let's check it out.
Dun, dun, dun. So nice golden top there. The cream cheese kind of melted in a little bit. Nice, Claire.
Yeah.
Good.
Smells great.
Yeah, it smells really good.
So it looks good, of course. I mean, who doesn't love melted cheese and a little golden brown? But I love bringing some green into dishes just to jazz it up. And especially with a lot of the work I've done in food publishing and photography for our own farm, green just makes it look so much better. So we've got two ways you can bring some green onto this. One is going to be to top it with something like chives or green onions. We can show you how to cut those. And then Andy is also going to walk us through some steps where you can make a nice little side salad to serve alongside of it. And it whips up really quickly, and you even make your own dressing, and it's just light and nice. And I'm a big Peloton fan, and Cody Rigsby always eats salad for breakfast, so I think it's totally fine. So here we go. Andy, take us away with that dressing.
All right, sounds good. So first off, a couple things. So back to using the actual chef knife now. So with this, I've got 1 clove of garlic, and with this, if you don't know, you can just take it with the skin on, lay it down, and just lay the knife on it, and be very careful not to hit the top part of the blade. But if you kind of point it down at an angle and using the butt of your hands, you can just kind of pop it down. And then once you pull up, the skin just pulls right off of it.
Truly, smashing garlic is like my favorite thing to do when cooking.
My wife always comes around when I'm doing it because she thinks it's cool to watch. So you want to make sure all that skin is off because it's very, very chewy. You want to cut off the root end because, again, that's real chewy and you probably don't want to eat that. But then otherwise, I'm just going to mince mine up. And with garlic, it's obviously not really big, so I typically slice it into small slices first.
I want to stop you really fast. See how Andy's holding his knife? There's no like finger on top of it here. It's you kind of choke up on the top part of your knife, and not holding it way back here because otherwise you're going to lose your grip, and you're not using your finger to guide it. It's with your whole hand, and you'll see him rock back and forth instead of going actually up and down.
Very good.
For the interruption.
You can see it on both sides. I actually have the top of the blade pinched in between my thumb on this side and then my index finger on that side. So only these 3 fingers are holding the actual handle. So when I was talking earlier about a knife having good weight, that's where you want the weight back there because you're going to rock back and forth and it's going to feel right if there is. So with the garlic, you want pretty small mince on this because this is going to be in a salad dressing and it's not going to get cooked or anything, so you don't want to bite into a huge piece unless you really like garlic, and then cut it as big as you want. So this is looking pretty good there. All right, so in a mixing bowl, you can go ahead and load that garlic up into there. And we didn't give you the recipe for this. There's all kinds of different ways you can go. It's very easy to search online for any of these things. Salad dressings are something that I make at home all the time. We typically will have like an obligatory bottle of Hidden Valley Ranch just because we have kids and that's what they enjoy eating. But I make strawberry dressing, and I make a avocado dressing, a chipotle dressing, orange vinaigrettes, lemon vinaigrettes, and my family thinks that they're great too. So very, very easy to do. You can search any of them up online though and find whatever recipe works best for you. Usually if you have just a regular blender or an immersion blender or a food processor, any of those things, super easy to make a dressing at home. This particular one, we don't really need any of those things. So I'm taking 3 lemons.
We've got Sydney asking if it's worth investing in a mincer. I have opinions. Andy, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like if you can use a knife, then use a knife. Keep it simple. The last thing my kitchen needs is like another gadget, and they're hard to clean. But you know, my mom has this doodad that like can chop or mince anything really with like this pull string, and it works really well. I have no idea what it is, but she loves it. My sister uses it too, but just give me a good knife and I'll be happy. So.
Yeah, I'm the same, and it's probably some of that is what your level of comfortability is. So my best advice is just to practice. The chef knife that I just used and that Claire was talking about, if you cook a lot, that is kind of your go-to piece of equipment. I use my chef knife more than anything in the kitchen by far. And I'm the same. I don't like to have a lot of gadgets. Our kitchen is average size, I would say, here at home, but it's by no means big. So, you know, storage space and using a bunch of gadgets and those type of things to take up that space really doesn't work. And I, in most instances, can just do the stuff on my own as fast as what it would take, you know, for the time it's going to take to clean those extra things, or when you consider everything that goes into it. Got a couple seeds in here. Pull those out. You can also, when you do squeeze citrus fruit to get the seeds out, you can just do it through your hand, to where you squeeze it and just catch the seeds with your fingers. I got talking there, so I wasn't paying as close of attention as what I might ordinarily. So right now I've got the juice of 3 lemons in there, 1 clove of garlic. I'm going to put probably about maybe a half a teaspoon's worth of salt in, and again, just kind of like eyeball it. When you get done putting this together, you're going to have a taste before you serve it. If you think it needs more salt, you can put more salt in. It's hard to take it out, so it wouldn't go out of control to begin with. Pepper about the same, about a half of a teaspoon. So if you want to use an actual teaspoon, you can. I prefer fresh ground pepper for a lot of recipes that I use. I get some like already ground pepper at times, depending on what the recipe is. But for something like this that you know is going to be a nice fresh thing, I think it's always good to get freshly cracked pepper. Now I'm putting in some Dijon mustard, about a tablespoon's worth. And again, if you're not comfortable with measurements just by eyeball, I've done this thousands and thousands of times. You know, absolutely get out measuring spoons and make life easier for yourself. So with that.
Yeah, and that's why I like this dressing. It's super easy, and you can make it with what you have. Once you know what the flavors are, you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah, and you literally could do this with lime juice, with orange juice, you know, pomegranate juice, anything that you want to. It's going to kind of come about the same, just get the flavor that you want. So I'm going to whisk together the mustard and the lemon juice and garlic, salt, pepper. So it's mixed together evenly, and again, you don't have to do a whole lot of that to get it where you want for it to be. And then using olive oil here. And with this, it depends, you know, for this recipe, you're going to want to use about 3 parts juice to 4 parts oil. So basically what you want to do is just drizzle the oil in and stir as you go. And you can kind of see the texture of it will kind of change as it starts to emulsify. And you basically want it to where it's all held together, so you don't want like a pool of oil sitting on top of the rest of what's in the bowl. And kind of thick enough to where, not quite to where it would coat the back of the spoon, but to where it would like grab a hold of it. So let me go ahead and start here, slowly drizzling.
What kind of oil do you have, Andy?
What's that?
What kind of olive oil are you working with?
Extra virgin, and I'm using Filippo Berrio. So there's all kinds of olive oil options out there. If you've ever shopped for it at the store, you can, you know, at most chain stores like a Kroger or a place like that, you can buy a $25 bottle as easily as you buy a $6 bottle. So the quality, you can taste it. The more expensive, it's kind of less bitter. I think kind of like the cheaper you go, it kind of almost has like a bitter aftertaste to it, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And part of that is what you want to use it for as well. So sometimes if you're using olive oil, say to make like a spaghetti sauce, you don't need the top of the line. But if you're making something like this to where it's going to be like out front, then you might want to get a higher end one.
Yeah, my kind of rule of thumb is if I'm cooking with it, I can go a little cheaper. But if it's something I'm having, for lack of a better word, raw, I want it to be a little lighter and brighter. So I got influenced by Instagram, and I have Brightland coming to my house. So
Very good. All right, so I've got this mixed together now. Hopefully it's not too bad of a reflection where you can actually see anything, but it looks like the texture consistency of like an Italian dressing that you would buy. And then last step, you can put really any herbs that you want to in here. I'm going to use dried oregano. You can use dry herbs, fresh herbs, whatever you would like. Others that would go well with this would be thyme, rosemary. I would say basil always goes well with lemon too. So for dried oregano, I'm going to put probably about a tablespoon in here. And mix that in. All right, it's very good. And then lettuce-wise for this salad, and again, you can use whatever you enjoy. Arugula is what I chose to put in for this one today. So arugula, if you have never had it, it's kind of a leafy lettuce. Try to grab a good one here for you. It does have some stem in it, so if that's not something you like, you can use iceberg or romaine or spinach or whatever you like. It's definitely your own preference. Arugula, though, has a peppery flavor almost to it, so it's really, really good. It actually goes really well with beef. So if you have something like a steak sandwich, or if you wanted to do, you know, like a salad with some sort of like grilled steak on the top, or that type of thing would go really well. So I'm actually going to use the bowl that I made the dressing in and put the arugula in with that. You also, if you want to control better the amount of dressing that you have on your own individual salad, you can just put the lettuce into a bowl and drizzle the dressing over. But with this, you just have the dressing already in the bottom, so you just can kind of shake the bowl a little bit and grab some tongs and work it in that way. Flip it over a couple of times.
I'm throwing Parmesan in mine because we don't have enough cheese as it is, in my opinion. So.
Cool. And then once you see that the leaves are coated evenly, you're good. You don't want to over mix it so you don't bruise all of the. Cool. And I'm just going to let that sit for a quick second here. While that is coming together, green onions or chives, either one that you would want to use. This will make a good garnish for the actual casserole. With green onions, I typically like to cut them at an angle, so on like the bias as opposed to just straight like this. If you're doing it like that, it looks fine. It's not the end of the world or anything, but it just looks more fancy, I would say, for lack of a better term. If you cut it at an angle, so about a 45-degree angle to start from one corner. And as you can see, it's kind of a different look, looks more refined kind of. How are you coming along, Claire?
Good.
Awesome.
Are we ready to plate? Bring our green in?
One thing before we do that, so if you're going to serve this, and especially if it's holiday-ish type presentation like Christmas, although you might not want to take a whole lot of extra time to cook, you might want to spend some time on what presentation looks like. So I've got a couple of easy napkin folds that everyone can try. That way you can do these at home as well. So this one is a pyramid. You can tell it's triangle shaped if you look at it from the back. You, I'm sure, probably have seen this at some point in your life as you've been out eating. So with this square napkin, cloth napkin, it's better if you can iron them before you start, and spraying some starch on and like ironing that in as well really helps it to hold its shape. So with this first one, if you start it out to where it is diagonal, you can fold it corner to corner. And important to get the flat edge to where you get a nice crease in that. Then fold each of these corners up. And again, kind of press it firm. The more firm you can get it during this process, the less loose it's going to look when you're done. So as you can see there, that's what we've got. Going to flip the whole thing over. And fold those corners back over. You don't want for this part to go over what is on the bottom there. At that point, you can fold that over, and then you're ready to go. You just lift it up, pull it apart. So that is a pyramid.
Andy, I'm impressed.
Thank you. I'll do that one again really fast. This one is super easy. This is like the go-to one. This is what I always do if I'm just on the fly. So again, corner to corner, crease, corner, flatten, corner to corner, flatten, flip the whole thing over, corner to corner, fold it a triangle, make sure it's nice and tight, and you can put it out. So that is a pyramid. The other one is a fan. So with this, it looks like that once it's done. So with this guy, again, laid out flat, and this time you don't want it to be diagonal, you want it to be a square in front of you. So fold it in half, and you may have tags or things like that on them, so just fold that towards the inside. With this one, it's really important that you get good tight creases on it. So I've got this folded in half, and I'm really gonna press hard to get that crease in there. And then you wanna start from the end closest to you and fold over in about a 1 inch segment. So just taking the end, fold it over 1 inch, give it a good crease. You want to pick the whole thing up, holding that first fold in, and do the same thing. You're folding it backwards now 1 inch. Flip it back over, another inch, make sure it's nice and tight. So you keep going back and forth like this, just keep flipping it over, keep doing 1 inch at a time.
We've got a question about paper napkins. And of
Yep.
course, paper napkins are totally cool at any table. And ways to make them look fine, go get some cute ones from Hobby Lobby. Or you can probably find them at any grocery store that are cute at this time of year. Get some cute napkin rings. Yeah, there's lots of different things you can do. Don't feel like you have to have cloth napkins, but it's fun.
Absolutely. And this kind of thing can be fun for the kids too. So you can do like a paper towel square just as easy if you want to be, you know, joking around with it. So yeah, so now that I have this, you can see that I folded there. I stopped with about 3 inches worth of napkin left out here. So you can see this is the side that's folded. This other side then is going to be flat. So you want to take it and kind of make sure you're holding where you fold it together still. And in the middle, with the flat side, fold it together. So you have this now. And then out here for this what's left, you should have part that's folded here, and then the other part of it is the 2 sides that are open. So you want to take the folded side and go over the top and fold into the seam that's in there. And you really want to make sure that you get that corner tucked down in there well. So at this point, it is fanned like that. You should have that sticking out of the back of it. And then carefully, once you get it out, put it out there, and you have a fan napkin. So some easy ways to kind of dress up the meal otherwise. It's kind of an attention getter, so, and they're very, very easy to do. This one might take you a couple times to get it down or whatever, but once you do, it's really easy. You also, in storing it, I don't have it out here, when you have it to this point, like to where right before you're going to put it out, you actually can put a rubber band around it or tie string around it. So you can fold these in advance and keep them in your china cabinet or buffet or a drawer or whatever. And that way they're already done. So whenever you are ready to serve, you can just pull it out, take the string off, and set it out, and you're ready to go.
Cool.
All right.
Very good.
Ready to serve at this point.
Cool. Let's do it. So we'll go ahead and cut into this casserole. And there's so many ways you can make the table a little more fun this Christmas. just, you know, I know it's a lot of our immediate families who we've spent a lot of time with. I think my mom used to always bring out those poppers that had like a crown and surprises in them. And so that's a fun way to make the table a little fun for the holidays. Even like name place cards could be fun just to make people feel a little more special for the holiday.
Absolutely. So, and you can make your plate look any way that you like. Everyone's got different shaped plates and colors and all that stuff. So I just kind of put a piece there. You can take as big or small piece as you like. Mixing up the salad one more time, make sure that it's nice and coated. And put a little bit down there on the plate with it. And this is lemon dressing, so you can put whatever you feel like on the top. So I'm going to put raspberries. That's a good flavor combination.
That's fun.
And it looks pretty. It's a nice color contrast. And then the green onions that we cut a minute ago. Sprinkle some of those on top of the bake. You can put some around the plate if you want to kind of brighten it up a little bit. And with this salad, the green onions will go well.
So super simple to make a really easy holiday morning breakfast. You just got to remember to pull that casserole out in the morning, cook it for 40 minutes at 350 and with that foil on top, and then you're going to take the foil off and cook it for the last 15 minutes, and then you guys are good to go.
Very good. And I have a helper here with me that he's going to try this out and see if it tastes good. So this is my son, Hudson. Say hi.
Hello.
You better say
Fantastic.
good. Nice.
Awesome. Good.
Well,
Does anybody have any questions about anything that we talked about tonight? It's been fun to be with you all, and I know we're coming up on an hour, so we want to thank you all for being here. And thank Alpha Phi. This is such a fun way to connect with your sisters across the country. So thanks for doing something like this for everyone.
Yeah, well, thank you, Andy and Claire. That was super fun. I'm actually excited to hopefully do the napkins for my family at Christmas. So we'll see if they like them. But yeah, just thank you to everyone for attending tonight. And I wanted to let you know that we do have another Alpha Phi Eats event coming up January 14th at 6:30 Central. So you can find more information about that on alphaphi.org. But just thank you to Campus Cooks for sponsoring this event tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.